Alright, so I cut the two pieces off the white pipe because it didn't fit, so I've got this side mocked up, and same thing on this side. So this was the full piece, so I'm going to cut that white pipe up and build a custom white pipe, and then it's going to be a lot of cut, fit, so I'm not really going to record any of it, but just trying to connect those two together, have a new white pipe in there. Alright, so here's one pipe. Goes all the way out, and then here's the start of the other one. Don't mind the welds. It's kind of touching right here, but I'll be able to pull this forward while I tack it to this pipe. I'm going to drill a hole here, connect this pipe to this pipe. I have a slight little swoop on it, carry out the back, but it's looking pretty good. I'm going to keep going on this, and it's touching a little bit up here as well, but if I just pull it just a little bit this way, it's alright. So I'm going to space it out from there. I'll space this one as well, and then I'll weld them all together, and it should be perfect. Alright, here's my white pipe. And when you're as bad a welder as me, I mean, these are all sealed, but use the leftover cutoffs for caps. So that's a pretty big hole to fill, but you cover it. Oh, that's not too bad to fill with the welder. So fill that in. I'll make another one for the bottom. We'll get this fully welded and we'll bolt it in. Alright, so this is the white pipe. It's kind of a weird shape, but 3.3 headers on a 3-liter motor. I guess you'll probably have that. So we'll see if it fits. If it fits, I might grind the welds down, but nobody's really going to see it, so I really don't care. Alright, well, the exhaust is at least done. This is the temporary one. I'm not going to show my welds because I'm very not proud of them. I didn't have my gas hooked up and all that, but got full white pipe. Goes all the way out the back with one resonator. It's going to be loud for now, but I also filled down through here just to wet my water pump a little bit, so that way it's not spinning dry. But I'm going to fire it up and see what it sounds like. I also put the shocks in temporarily just to raise it up just a little bit so it's easier to move, because my custom mount that I built down here is already full of rocks and I really don't want to get it all bent up. Alright, so I'm going to start with the exhaust. Sorry about the mic, I don't have one yet. This is just being recorded on my phone, so it's not as loud as I would like it to be on the audio, but hopefully you guys will be able to hear the truck with a full exhaust. Maybe I'll have enough back pressure to actually rev out, but we'll see. I got hooked up to my quad again. Alright, so I think it's a timing issue, so I removed the bolt out of the distributor so that way I can advance it more. I had it all the way advanced, and that's the only way it'll run. So I'm going to fire it up again and turn it a little bit more if it runs better, and I can rev past where it needs to be. I know I'm a tooth off, and I'll pull it out. I'll put it forward one tooth and put it back in. So I'm going to get fired up again. me good. All right, don't pull from the coil. She's hot. But it sounds way better. Now I know I gotta pull the distributor out, go an extra tooth. It was running way better that way. So I'm gonna work on that. All right, so it's about 10 minutes later. I've got it swapped around. So I'm gonna fire it back up. I've got it in the middle right now, just to see where that gets me. Also my cam gear was a little loose, so I tightened that. I need to torque them. I think I just kind of muscled them on there last time, and I think they probably need to be pulled out, thread locked, and then put back in. But yeah, let's see what happens. Probably help if you turn the key on. Alright, going live. Alright, well, I think it's just a low battery issue, but it fired right up. So it's fully retarded on the timing right now. Running way better. That's about the middle. I don't want to run it for too long because there's still no actual cooling to it, but it's running really good. So I was trying to buy a new one of these, but mine looks, I mean, besides the surface rust, it looks really good. So I'm just going to wipe this off, install it on my booster. You can tell that one has been on here leaking before because of all the pitting, but it's definitely not this one because you would see signs of it, but this thing's completely dry. So I'm going to throw this back on, and then I'll throw my clutch slave on too, because that looks pretty good as well. They're both working when I pulled them, and they've been stored really well, so I don't see why they wouldn't work. So I'm going to work on getting this put on first. Alright, the clutch master and the brake master cylinder are both in. I also got the pedals in, and then I'm still working on cleaning up this mess. The truck ran without any of this. This is all the stuff for the dash and everything, and it's not ideal anyways, so I'm just gonna remove all that, and I'll end up doing something different. But yeah, it runs like this, so I did something right. But I'm gonna get rid of everything that I don't necessarily need to keep it running. A lot of the gauges I'm gonna put in are gonna be standalone gauges, and then the speedo will be GPS operated, and the speedometer is going to be standalone as well, that I'm going to attach right here to the column. So I'll end up tearing into the wiring later because I know the truck runs, so I know that I can get rid of all this. So then the wiring harness will be a lot smaller, a lot more simple. I'll be able to shorten some stuff, lengthen some stuff, just make it look all around clean. Alright, so everything here that's unplugged is going to get removed. I'm going to trace all the wires and make sure that I'm not getting rid of something I shouldn't. But this will free up a ton of space, and most of the stuff in the back of this will be gone as well. The only thing I'm really keeping is all these blue wires, which to my knowledge are just power wires. So I'm going to work on that, and then we'll get back to the engine stuff, but I'll also be able to clean up some wires over here. Like that plug can be gone, this plug can be gone, that one and that one can be gone. A lot of this can be shortened up, it's too long. And then these grounds here and that ground there are going to get added to this ground lug here. So I'll make a nice super clean ground for here, and then all my other ground wires will be able to run to here, so that way they're all in one spot. I know that they're clean, I know that it's good power, And then this is my ignition, which will end up getting a switch panel installed because this is the stock tumbler and it just doesn't look very good. So I'm gonna keep plugging away at this and show you guys how far I get today. Alright, here's a little update. This is like a junction block, and all that's left is these two ground wires. I don't really want to cut them to see if the truck will stay running. So I think I'm actually going to do some tracing on these ones, but I cut everything else and the truck still starts. So I can get rid of pretty much all this that runs that way. So I'm going to keep going and give you another update here in a little bit. Alright, so don't be like me. This is the clutch safety here. And I never jumpered it, so I was able to shove a ground in this and get it running. I've been chasing this for about 2 days. This ground is one that I cut from earlier, so I'm just going to connect this one into this one and bypass this completely. I don't think I didn't need this one. I didn't need this one. This was all stuff that I thought was the reason why it wasn't working. It wasn't. This one I accidentally cut, so I just placed that one back together. But definitely do this better than I did, because I was restarting it after every time I'd cut something, but I thought that I was scot-free. I was not. So I'm gonna connect this one to this one and then start shortening all this stuff. And it runs right now, so I'm not gonna mess with anything else. I'm just gonna shorten it, put it on the fuse panel, and call it a day. All this can stay. If there's extra wires, there's extra wires. I thinned it out a lot. The pile's out. Well, I'll show the pile later. So this is the pile of wiring that I pulled out. Didn't need any of that to make it run. So here's the before of after I shorten everything and all that. So it'll look a lot better. Alright, so the coil's hooked up along with the distributor and the alternator. That's all it needs to run. And so I'm going to fire it up, let it idle for a little bit, and I'll show you the interior as well. Alright, so this is what the wiring ended up looking like. Pretty happy with it. I'll probably end up doing a wiring V9 at this point. I've cut into this harness so many times, but as of right now it runs, so I'm not going to touch it. Alright, so I'm changing the oil on the Hardbody, and this is the one I used to paint it, but the part number is underneath the paint. But the story behind this filter is after my other filter got a hole burned through it from the starter cable, I put this one on, and I didn't have enough money in high school to buy brand new oil, so I just mixed a bunch of random ones, and that's what's been in there for probably about 8,000 to 10,000 miles. So I'm finally changing the oil on it, and I've got a new STP here. This one's not the extra large. This one's just a regular STP, but they look the same size-wise. So I'm gonna throw this one on and put new oil in it because it deserves it. And I've got an oil leak to figure out as well, because of where the old oil pressure gauge went in. I had this weird block off piece right there, which is leaking. So I'm gonna pull this off, Teflon tape it, and put it back on. I've got some gas safe Teflon tape, so I'm gonna get that fixed, put this on, drain the oil, put new oil in it, and then it'll be good for another 5,000 miles or so. Alright, this is my block off port. This is the 90-45 thing to make the oil pressure sensor get out of the way of the oil filter. So I just put in a little block off piece, and I'll get to that later. But this is petroleum safe PTFE tape. So I'm going to throw this in there so that way it's not leaking anymore, and then I'll drain the old oil and put the new stuff in. Alright, I had these 3 random oils that I mixed together. There was probably about 10 different oils in there before, but now it's just these three. Is like a quart of this, and then like 3 quarts of this, and then the last quart was this one. Alright, did a junkyard run. There's some random coolant hoses, and then got a radiator, as well as the brackets for the radiator and all the stuff right here. So I'm gonna clean the radiator up and get it all bolted in, clean these hoses up, and see if I can't make something work. I also got a throttle cable, but these are the 2.4 liter off the KA, and then this is the VG, and this is VG here. So I'm gonna clean this all up and throw it on. These ones will most likely just be temporary because they're not gonna look very pretty, but it was cheaper than buying brand new hoses, so I'm doing that for now. Alright, I got the first hose, and this metal piece was normally to help clear the, I think it was the power steering pump maybe that was over here. I don't have that anymore, but it still needs this piece. And then I have a hose to connect from there to there, and then the next one will come up and it'll connect in up at the top here. So I'm gonna keep going. Alright, I've kind of been plugging away off camera here. I got the throttle cable installed with the bracket. I had to bend the bracket to make this throttle cable work. Don't quote me, but I think the KA throttle cable is a lot shorter because it's a pretty tight fit, but it's in. Got this hose on. This one popped off, but it goes right on there. Just needs hose clamps, top and bottom, and then I'll be able to fill this up with water, and I gotta find a pressure cap. So I'm gonna put some hose clamps on it, fill it up with water, and see if we got any leaks. I also forgot I got this one in as well. Alright, I got all the hose clamps on, so we're all set to fill it up with water, and I'll let it burp, and then I'll put a radiator cap on it later. Alright, so I'm getting ready to fire the truck up. I got water in there right now. I'll do coolant once I know that it's all set, but I'm gonna fire it up and let it idle here for a while and burp this water out of the system. Give it a second, it was low on fuel. So as it chugs down this water, I'll just keep adding to it. I got this higher up so that way it doesn't drain through here. So I'm gonna let this sit here and idle for a little bit, let the thermostat open. I still don't have a fan, so I'm gonna keep an eye on it, make sure it doesn't get too hot. But I'll be able to feel once it's warm. The thermostat's right here, so it might take a second to warm up, but I should hopefully hear it open. So let it sit here and idle for a while. So I'm still waiting for the thermostat to open. You can see the radiator steaming, but if I put my fingers right here, it's pretty hot, and then it's not hot on this side yet. So the thermostat's still closed. It could be stuck. I might tap it with a hammer a little bit just to see if it'll let go, but it's not alarmingly hot yet. I can still touch it with my hand, so. Alright, this is super crude, but it's working. I've got the probe shoved in there. It says it's reading about 160 right now, which I would believe. I can't touch it right now. Its upper hose is not that hot, but that metal one is screaming hot. So I'm gonna let it run for a little bit, and then probably let it get up to about, I don't know, 190 or so. And then it doesn't really seem like it needs to be topped off, so I'm just gonna keep letting it do what it's doing. Alright, it's just about to touch 190, so crude, but it works. I can still touch this top hose. It's pretty toasty. I don't even want to try and touch this metal one, but you can see it's bubbling and there's a bunch of crud coming out, but it's been sitting for 3 years, so pretty happy with it though. It's none of it's coming out the back, so that means that my intake's sealed, which is a good sign. And yeah, this bypass hose right here is nice and hot to the touch too, so I know that there's at least water circulating through the intake. So I'm gonna go ahead and shut it off, once I get a fan, this should be all set. And then I just looked up a video on deleting the clutch damper for the slave or the master clutch master. So I'm gonna end up buying the delete kit for that. It's like 50 bucks. Then I'll have clutch, and then all that's left to drive it will be the brakes. Alright, so I tried trusting a radiator from the junkyard, and it was a terrible idea. This neck broke. So right now I do not have any water in it. Alright, here's something I might be proud of. This 7/8 socket fits right in here. So I'm thinking about throwing that in. It'll be restricted a little bit, but it'll still allow water to pass through. So I am gonna wrap this in electrical tape around here and then put this back on and see if that'll hold for the time being until I get a radiator. Ain't stupid if it works. We'll see. Alright, right now it's completely dry, so we'll let it get warm and we'll see what happens. You can already see the water's flowing through there though, which is a good sign. So just keep topping it off and we'll see if it holds it. Alright, still no leaks, but my quad's running out of gas, so I think I'm going to go ahead and shut it down for now. But this radiator seems like it'll be alright for a little bit, just for testing and getting it running and driving. I'm 90% sure that I smoked my ignition coil, so I ordered a new one that's there, and then I've got these PCV breathers that I'm going to throw on real quick. So I got to do some more wiring on the coil side of things because it's kind of hodgepodge. It's not working, and I think it killed my old coil because I removed that resistive lead. So I'm gonna put that back in and wire everything back up again, fire it up, see what happens. Alright, so right now this is where I've got to leave the truck for a little bit until I can find a new ECU, because that one is smoked. There's nothing working on it really anymore. It still blinks, but it's not giving me an ignition coil signal. So I'm gonna put the hood back on it and push this out because I'm doing concrete soon, and the truck is right in the way. So I'm gonna put it in between the F100 and the Aerostar over there.